Right. So I'm going to talk about how and when the daytime Arietids can fall into the sun. This work is done in collaboration with these good people from different parts of the world. So just to give you a brief introduction to daytime Arietids, it's one of the strongest daytime meteor showers, and the activity levels of Arietids can be comparable to that of Perseids if you calibrate from daytime sky to the night sky. And there have been multiple observations which have shown consistency in strong Arietids activity, and it has been observed by different meteor science groups in the world. And just to give you a brief introduction to GR precession, the shift of perihelion of Mercury was predicted by Einstein in 1915 using his field equations in relativity. And it was found that the precession is always in the direction of the motion of the body. And this additional shift of 43 arc seconds per century was predicted by theory and later confirmed from the observations. This is a simple schematic which shows the perihelion shift in Mercury. So the computing of GR precession is fairly straightforward. It can be computed using this closed loop expression. You just plug in semi-image axis or perihelion distance and eccentricity and use this simple formulae to compute delta omega, and you get it in radians per revolution, and you can use it and convert it to the forms you like. And this could be easily done for different bodies if you get the orbital elements. And the GR effects have been explored in the past, especially in Germanids by different authors. And from this expression, you can see that low Q and low A is the combination which can actually make GR accumulate very efficiently over time. And this low Q and high eccentricity of Arietids leads to this active GR precession and Kozai librations happening together. And just to give you a brief introduction to Kozai mechanism, it was found by Lido and derived formally by Kozai. It's a very interesting secular effect in orbital dynamics. So you see this eccentricity increase and inclination decreasing over time. These are two simple plots which actually shows the evolution of eccentricity and inclination in an asteroid which exhibits Kozai mechanism. Eccentricity and inclination has an like a anti-correlation effect, and you can actually see these cycles repeating over time. And this Kozai mechanism can make some really interesting effects. So inclination flip is one of the most dramatic things you see in orbits in certain bodies, which shows Kozai mechanism. So it can actually switch from prograde to retrograde orbits and vice versa. And Kozai mechanism can generally produce these sun grazing comets, which are very interesting. So this over time, you can actually have some of these comets coming very close to the sun, and some of these bodies can even fall into the sun due to secular decrease in perihelion distance and increase in eccentricity. This is a beautiful picture of this spectacular sun grazing comet Ikea-Seki in the past. So this GR precession and Kozai oscillations coming together can actually make things even more dramatic. So Kozai mechanism can lead to objects falling into the sun, um, and this is something you see in different sun racing, sun skirting objects. Uh, and this is a plot of 96 comet 96P, and you could actually see that if you simulate a clone, it actually falls into the sun in about 9,000 years or so. And this is a eccentricity versus time plot. And if you actually look at the perihelion distance versus time for daytime Arietids, you can actually see the Kozai librations making some Arietids particles fall into the sun in about 36,000 years. This is an eccentricity versus time plot for a daytime Arietids particle, and you could actually again see this particle falling into the sun in this 36,000-ish years time frame. And this is an inclination versus time plot. This again shows these sort of cycles, which is a signature of these Lido-Kozai vibrations. So this GR precession and Kozai mechanism, when they come together, it's very interesting that this GR precession can actually prevent or sometimes delay these Arietids particles from falling into the sun. And in these short time frames, it actually shows how the relativistic effects can actually suppress some of these secular effects which happens in dynamical evolution due to this Lido-Kozai mechanism, and how the relativistic effects can actually change the long-term evolution of these bodies. So this is a small q versus time plot, perihelion distance versus time. And here you see that when you switch on GR, this particular particle doesn't fall into the sun. So here you have eccentricity versus time, here you have inclination versus time, and one can clearly see that this falling into the sun phase due to this Kozai mechanism has been sort of overpowered by this GR precession. So the GR precession, although it's a very small effect over time, it can actually sort of suppress and dominate over this Kozai mechanism when it comes to long time scales. And it can change the evolution of the body altogether. One could do this analytically as well using Hamiltonian dynamics. So the way you do it is you actually have, you take the Hamiltonian which incorporates the Kozai mechanism, then you take the Hamiltonian incorporating the GR precession, then you take the combined case of Kozai mechanism and GR precession, add these two Hamiltonians and check for conditions where you have phase spaces falling into the sun. So you look for the phase spaces, for example, the inclination and perihelion distance phase space, and see as to which area of this phase space actually corresponds to only Kozai region, Kozai plus GR region, and so on. So in this case, you actually see that there is this small subset of phase space where you have these observed Arietids, uh, which actually shows meteoroids falling into the sun if you only have the Kozai effect. But when you have the GR effect plus the Kozai effect, then you actually see that it actually changes the phase space as to um, the phase space which favors the particles which fall into the sun has been sort of changed from one phase space to the other phase space. Um, in short, one could actually say that uh, it is this small small q which actually drives the relativistic precession, and this relativistic precession can actually change the dynamical evolution of these bodies in such a way that it can actually delay the falling into the sun or prevent many substructures in the meteoroid stream from falling into the sun. So one could actually find these conditions in the phase space using the analytical methods as well as using orbital simulations. So you produce different clones in different phase spaces and look at how they evolve over time. And it's possible to separate some of these different phase spaces and different substructures in these meteoroid stream and check as to which parts of it could actually fall into the sun, which parts of it would survive from falling into the sun due to this additional relativistic effects and so on. So to quickly summarize, one one can actually say that Kozai mechanism can make these drastic changes in GR precession rates by inducing these sun grazing and sun colliding phases due to this rapid decrease in Q, rapid increase in E, and this anti-correlation between eccentricity and inclination and so on. And we find that the substructures or Arietid stream fall into the sun due to Kozai librations. And when you switch on the GR precession, it actually in turn prevent these Arietids substructures from falling into the sun, which is a very interesting effect when you have both these long-term effects when they combine. It shows uh, there's a beautiful play of these dynamical effects happening together. So in future, we actually would like to have this correlation between theory and Arietids observation, and to have like an independent confirmation of GR using meteor science. Then it would be sort of a neat way of correlating between the dynamical evolution theory, uh, the relativistic theory, and the Arietids observations all coming together in a neat overlap. So the takeaway message is the phenomenon of GR precession, preventing meteoroid stream structures falling into the sun, has been identified for the very first time. And overall, it would be sort of interesting in future to have the theory and observations coming together, giving like an independent confirmation of GR from the context of meteor science. Thank you.